The gender wars have been getting more and more furious these past few years. Obviously, there have been a lot of tragic issues, and I'm not when I'm talking in this video, I'm not trying to downplay any of the issues whatsoever. But I did come to some realization, and it made me think about some stuff. And one of the things I'm going to talk about, one of the main topics, is our language and communication between the sexes. And what I think I figured out the past few years, if not this year, is that women and women and men understand and communicate very differently. We always say it, but I feel like we've never actually, as a general public, we never actually look into it. Um, so I think I found amongst myself with my friends, and only because I question a lot, because I'm just a regular dummy, but I question a lot. I realized that a lot of the time we can be saying something and we perceive something in completely two different ways. And I think my ultimate point, first of all, is not about one is wrong and one is right. It's about understanding how another person perceives something. Um, so let's even use this analogy. You see a fire, and you see a fire and you see danger. A child may see a fire and think light or bright light, colorful light, etc. So I'll state that, and I think one of the ways where I found out, I remember having a conversation with a friend who's female, and the conversation was essentially about the difference between a nice guy and a good guy. So for me, how I broke it down is the definition essentially for the term nice guy was essentially the fact of putting the word nice, as in, I don't know, you look nice, or a nice apple, or nice whatever, with man. So I combined the two definitions and just created a nice man. So on the back of that, I got my friend to explain it, and essentially the I'm paraphrasing, was that a man that essentially does something nice to then get something in return. And I was just like, that's quite interesting how the two um, definitions vary. Because now, if I've used that in a sentence, for instance, I'm a nice man, now that definition is now attached to me by accident. But because let's say for instance, had I not asked that question, I wouldn't know, oh, that's the impression I'm giving off to said person. So I feel like one good way to understanding each other, and not just among sexes, as a people, is sometimes not feeling dumb about asking, oh, do you know what? How do you actually perceive this definition before we go on to this question? Obviously, I'm not thinking about normal everyday terms. Mainly terms that can be can can be attributed to different meanings. So I feel like that's number one what we should be doing as a whole. And I think ultimately, yeah, it's just, I wouldn't say studying because you don't want to get a degree. You just want to be able to communicate better with the opposite sex. That's what I'm talking about. So again, from this, what I feel like I've established is that um, more so a definition sometimes for female, again generalizing, is that a definition can be attributed to memories, feeling, stuff like that, which also myself I do sometimes attribute into be it experiences to people, because my memory sucks. Sometimes I will attach a feeling to someone and be like, okay, cool. I didn't exactly remember why we're not friends or whatever, but I remember the last time I had a conversation with you, it didn't go well. I felt like hell. Do you know what I mean? Whereas men, sometimes, again, it sounds cliche. Uh, Usually their times tend to be quite literal in their definition. So I feel like as much as this is said, I feel like we need to actually take this into consideration, and it will solve a lot of our communication issues. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that goes on in the world, one of the biggest issues is our communication. There's such a big barrier with our communication, and yeah, ultimately that's where I feel like we would cut out a lot of issues between the sexes. Again, like I said, I'm not trying to dim down the major issues, but I'm talking in regards to communication. But on that note, hope you guys have a lovely day.